This video is for lesson 4.3, and it's going to cover exercises 1, 2, and 3 in your student journal on page 105. So the method that we're going to use in this video to rotate is we're going to be rotating using the rules. There are certain rules you can follow when rotating 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and 270 degrees. Basically, what it tells you is how do you take the pre-image ordered pairs, the X and Y coordinates, and what do you do with them to get the new X and Y coordinates of your image? And so we're going to practice using the rules in this video. In number 1, we're going to rotate quadrilateral JMLK 180 degrees. Okay. And so we're going to be using the origin as the center of rotation. And so we're going to be using the rule for a rotation of 180 degrees. So what it tells us, the rule tells us that our X and Y coordinates, after we rotate it, the X and Y coordinates are going to stay the same number, but they're just going to become opposites. So if it was a positive number, it will become negative. If it was a negative number, it will become positive. So what I did first is I went and I listed the ordered pairs of each point. So you are going to want to pause the video and do that as well. And then we're going to apply the rule to figure out where are those new X and Y coordinates of each point, new point of the image going to be. So J prime, all I have to do is take the opposite of what the X and Y coordinates are. So the X coordinate of J was -2. The opposite of -2 is +2. The Y coordinate of J is +4. So the Y coordinate of J prime will be -4. I'm going to go ahead and graph that on my coordinate plane. Watch out, this graph counts by 2's. So J prime is located at +2, -4. Don't forget to label. All right, point M, after rotating, the opposite of +1 is -1. And the opposite of +1 is -1. So M prime is located at -1, -1. L, I'm going to apply the rule to point L to get L prime. The opposite of -2 is +2. And the opposite of -2 is +2. So L prime is located at the point 2, 2. That's here. K, I'm going to apply the rule to get K prime. The opposite of -5 is +5. And the opposite of +1 is -1. So K prime is located at +5, -1. I got all my points with their labels. I'm now ready to just go ahead and connect them. In number 2, we're going to rotate the triangle 90 degrees. So this time I have to use a different rule. I'm going to use the rule for 90 degrees. I'm going to copy that down below. What this tells us is that our starting X and Y coordinates, in order to get our new X and Y coordinates, the Y coordinate of the pre-image will become the X coordinate, but we need to take the opposite. And the X coordinate of the pre-image will become the Y coordinate of the image. So again, I wrote down all the points of my pre-image, and I'm going to apply this rule to each point. So for point S, I'm going to apply the rule to get S prime. So the first thing I'm going to do, I know the X coordinate, A, in this case -1, will become the y coordinate. So the x coordinate of point S is -1. So -1 will be the y coordinate of S prime. Now the y coordinate of my pre-image point of point S will become my x coordinate, but I need to take the opposite. So 5, the opposite of +5 is -5, and that is the x coordinate of my image for S prime. I'm going to go ahead and graph that. S prime is located at -5, -1. Remember, it counts by 2's. All right, let's apply the rule to R to get R prime. Remember, the x coordinate of my pre-image becomes the y coordinate of my image. So the x coordinate of R is -4. So -4 is the y coordinate of R prime. My y coordinate of my pre-image becomes the x coordinate, and I would take the opposite. Well, 0 is just 0. The opposite of 0 is still 0. So 0 is the x coordinate of my point R prime. I'm going to go ahead and graph that. R prime is located at 0, -4. And finally, we're going to apply the rule to T to get T prime. Okay. The x coordinate of my pre-image will become the y coordinate of my image. So -5 will be the y coordinate of T prime. And my y coordinate 1 will become the x coordinate of my image, but I need to take the opposite. The opposite of +1 is -1. So T prime is located at -1, -5. I've got my points and my labels. I'm going to connect. The last one, we're going to rotate quadrilateral ABCD 270 degrees. Again, I listed my ordered pairs. I need to use the rule for 270 degree rotation. Here's the rule. I'm going to copy it down. So what this tells us is that the x coordinate of my pre-image will become the y coordinate of my image, but I need to take the opposite. And the y coordinate of my pre-image will become the x coordinate of my image. So let's apply this rule to get A prime. The x coordinate of my pre-image will become the y coordinate of my image, but I need to take the opposite. So +1 is the x coordinate of my pre-image. The opposite of +1 is -1. So -1 is the y coordinate of my image point. Then the rule tells us that the y coordinate of my pre-image will be the x coordinate of my image. So 4 is the x coordinate. I'm going to go ahead and graph A prime at +4, -1. All right, to get B prime, I'm going to do the same thing. To get the x coordinate of my pre-image is the y coordinate of my image, but the opposite. The opposite of +4 is -4. So -4 is the y coordinate of B prime. And the y coordinate of my pre-image will become the x coordinate of my image. B prime is located at +3, -4. To get C prime, the x coordinate of my pre-image will become the y coordinate of my image, but the opposite. The opposite of +3 is -3. So -3 is the y coordinate of C prime. The y-coordinate 1 of my pre-image will become the x-coordinate of my image. C prime is located at +1, -3. And finally, to get D prime, the x-coordinate of my pre-image will become the y-coordinate of my image, but the opposite. The opposite of +1 is -1, so -1 is the y-coordinate of D prime. The y-coordinate of my pre-image will become the x-coordinate of my image, so 2 is the x-coordinate of D prime. D prime is located at +2, -1.